السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. سأتكلم في هذا الفيديو عن حصرية بلايستيشن 5 اكسكلوسيف، يعني اللعبة هذه Returnal. تبدو رائعة في فيديو المطورين هذا. سنشاهد الفيديو ثم نكمل.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Housecast. Today we have the privilege, nay, the honor, of having the lead director of Returnal, the guy who invented Returnal in a way, with us. Harry, welcome back.
Hey Miguel, thanks for having me back here, man. It's good to see you as always.
Yeah.
سأقوم
And
بتسميع
hopefully we'll be able to do this in the... What's the story behind Returnal?
Maybe close to 4 years ago now, when the first seed process, we were just collecting ideas and just going completely wild, thinking, okay, what would be your absolute dream project if you didn't have to compromise on anything and just dared to dream, you know? And immediately, a couple of really strong elements came up. I mean, yeah, dark sci-fi, that's always been a, really alluring thing for me. Time travel, of course, one of my favorite genres, so to speak, or storytelling styles. Then we thought, okay, maybe an unconventional, maybe female protagonist carrying some kind of trauma, some kind of psychological horror, of course, has always been fascinating. So it wasn't and just said, okay, I want to make this. It was just kind of following this internal rule of cool and this kind of really organic, creative. There's something that that speaks to me, and sometimes it's really hard to put your finger on it, but it just works on an almost primal level. So then I kind of just try to grab onto that and try to understand, why did this make me feel this way? And then try to chase that feeling. It's like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole, that for other players to enjoy as well.
Lots of effects, huge explosions. We've done a lot of different things, but these are usually the core tenets that we come back to. So now that we're doing a slightly more transformative take on, let's say, a genre that's new to us, of course, you always assume that there's some core elements that we know quite well that will be there, but then you start adding different layers, and the onion kind of grows as you move forward. I think that, for me,
But you do have the active component. You are contributing to the story. You are like the central character of the story in many ways. And that's something that you cannot really experience, with other media.
out, you mentioned that this is an interactive medium where you can let the audience really have their own way of experiencing things. Does that make it much more difficult to decide or wonder, or is it even more straightforward than in movies? Or how do you see that difference?
It's hard to say if it's more or less challenging. I think every game, of course, always comes with its own challenges because you always have that extra, let's say, values in terms of gameplay, right? So we have the razor sharp controls, we have that really tight and rewarding kind of core feedback loop, lots of explosions, of course, just tapping into the part of the brain that feels enjoyment when it sees things blow up, And that was one kind of that was a constant in the equation from the beginning. We knew that we are going to hold on to that trademark, housemark experience, but just augment and expand it with new dimensions of richness. And of course, the narrative is undeniably one of the biggest new things for us, right? So you could say that even in our previous games, even in Resogun, for example, there's always
أحد العناوين الذي سيكون ضمن قائمة الحصريات التي ستصدر لجهاز بلاي ستيشن 5 العام القادم هي لعبة ريتشورنال التي يعمل عليها استوديو هاوس مارك، ومن ما شاهدناه اليوم في فيديو المطورين هذا، فيبدو أنها ستكون أول عنوان كبير سيستاهل عام 2021 ويبهر مالكي جهاز سوني الجديد. لعبة ريتشورنال كانت في البداية تحمل اسم دارك بلانيت، وهي المشروع الأضخم لاستوديو هاوس مارك حتى الآن، الذي قدم لنا في السابق ألعاب أركيدية مميزة مثل ريزوغان. ومما علمنا به من خلال هذا الفيديو الجديد الذي يستضيف مخرج اللعبة هاري كروغر هو أن هذه اللعبة كانت مشروع الأحلام لفريق التطوير. لعبة ريتشورنال يمكن وصفها أنها من ألعاب روغ لايك تدور أحداثها في أحد كواكب المجرة، حيث تسكنه مخلوقات متحولة غريبة، وتعمل اللعبة بالمنظور الثالث مع كاميرا ديناميكية تحافظ بشكل أساسي على وضعية اللاعب ووضعه في مجال رؤية مناسبة للاستمتاع بقتال الأعداء وتجنب ضرباتهم المتغيرة كما نشاهد في الفيديو بالأعلى. أيضا اللعبة ستوفر للاعب حرية الاستكشاف في مساحات مفتوحة وتطوير قدراته الخاصة، سواء المهارات أو قدرات الأسلحة المختلفة التي يستخدمها، بجانب الخطاف الذي سيساعده في التنقل وأيضا القتال. لعبة ريتشورنال ستكون من نشر شركة سوني وستصدر بشكل حصري مطلق على جهاز بلاي ستيشن 5 يوم 19 مارس من العام القادم 2021. نصل إلى نهاية الفيديو. دمتم في رعاية الله